Story 1. A bit about me. I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Came back 3 years ago with some physical injuries that healed, and some mental ones that didn't. The nightmares and flashbacks got so bad I could barely function. My counselor at the VAS suggested I look into getting a service dog, and that's how Max came into my life. Max is a 2-year-old German Shepherd who's been trained specifically to help with my post-traumatic stress disorder. He knows when I'm about to have an episode and can apply pressure therapy. He wakes me during nightmares. He creates space around me in crowded places. He's not just a pet, he's the reason I can go out in public again. I've had Max for about a year now, and we go everywhere together. He's always wearing his service vest with patches that clearly say, "Service dog, do not pet." Despite this, people still try to pet him or talk to him while he's working. I've gotten used to politely explaining that he's on duty. This Saturday, I was at the local farmer's market. It's good exposure therapy for me, lots of people, but outdoors and with plenty of exit routes if I get overwhelmed. Max stays right by my side, keeping an eye on me and the crowd. I was looking at some fresh vegetables when I noticed a kid, maybe 8 or 9 years old, staring at Max from a few feet away. The boy wasn't trying to approach, just watching with interest. I didn't mind that. Then a woman, I'm guessing his mother, came up behind him. "Woman, do you like the doggy?" The boy nodded but didn't speak. "Woman, would you like to pet him?" Before I could say anything, she was already leading the boy toward Max. I turned to face them, standing between them and my dog. "Me. I'm sorry, but he's a service dog, and he's working right now. Please don't pet him." The woman's face immediately soured. "Woman. Oh, come on, it's just for a minute. My son really loves dogs." Me. "I understand, but Max is a medical device for me. When he's wearing his vest, he's working." She looked me up and down, clearly annoyed. "Woman, you look fine to me. What's wrong with you anyway that you need a service dog?" I hate this question, but I've learned that sometimes a brief explanation helps. Me. "I'm a veteran with PTSD. Max helps me navigate public spaces and prevents episodes." Her face suddenly lit up, like she'd had some brilliant idea. Woman. "Oh, you're a veteran? That's perfect then. My son has autism and his therapist said a dog would be good for him. You should give your dog to my son." I thought I'd misheard her. Me. "Excuse me?" Woman. "Your dog. You should give him to my son. The government probably gave him to you for free anyway. My son needs him more than you do." I was speechless for a moment. Me. "First, Max wasn't free. Service dogs cost thousands of dollars and require extensive training. Second, he's specifically trained for PTSD, not autism. And third, he's my dog. I'm not giving him to anyone." The woman's face turned red. Woman. "That's so selfish. You're an adult. You've lived your life already. My son is young and deserves a better life. A dog would help him so much." Me. "I'm sorry your son is struggling, but Max is not up for adoption. There are organizations that can help you find the right support dog for your son's specific needs." Woman. "We've been on waiting lists for 2 years. You probably just got yours right away because you're a veteran. It's not fair. You people get everything handed to you." By now, other shoppers were starting to stare. Max could sense my anxiety rising and pressed against my leg, doing his job perfectly. Me. "Ma'am, please take your son and move along. This conversation is over." Woman. "No, I'm not leaving without that dog. My son deserves him more than you." The boy, who hadn't said a word this whole time, was now looking embarrassed. I felt bad for him. Me. "Look, I understand you're frustrated, but..." Before I could finish my sentence, she darted around me, reached for Max's leash, and unclipped it from his collar. In the same motion, she grabbed her son's hand and started walking away, trying to call Max to follow them. Woman. "Come on, boy, come with us. You'll have a better home now." Max, of course, didn't move an inch from my side. He's trained to stay with me unless given a command. The woman kept walking, now holding just a leash and looking ridiculous. Me. Hey, stop right there. She picked up her pace, still calling for Max to follow. Several bystanders had seen what happened and were already moving to block her path. One of them, a farmer's market vendor, called out to her. Vendor. Lady, what do you think you're doing? That's his service dog. Woman. Mind your own business. That dog will be happier with my son. Another shopper was already on the phone with security. I stayed put with Max, making sure to keep him close. The woman managed to push past the vendor and disappeared into the crowd with her son. Security arrived within a minute, and I explained what happened. They radioed the incident to local police, who already patrol the area around the market. I showed them Max's collar, which has a GPS tracker that I can monitor on my phone. I activated the app and could see he was still right next to me, as the collar was still on him. One of the officers asked if I wanted to press charges if they found her. Absolutely, I did. About 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We've apprehended the woman who tried to take your service dog's leash. We're at the north entrance if you'd like to come identify her. When Max and I arrived at the north entrance, the woman was handcuffed and sitting on a bench, crying and trying to explain to the officers that it was just a misunderstanding. Her son was sitting quietly next to a female officer, looking mortified. Officer. Sir, is this the woman who unclipped your service dog's leash and attempted to take him? Me. Yes, that's her. The woman saw me and immediately started yelling. Woman. I wasn't stealing. I was just trying to show my son the dog. This is ridiculous. You can't arrest me for this. Officer. Ma'am, attempting to steal a service animal is a felony. You're being arrested for attempted theft of a service animal and for endangering a disabled person. Woman. What? A felony? I didn't know that. I wasn't really going to take the dog. Officer. Multiple witnesses say you unclipped the leash and walked away while trying to call the dog to follow you. That constitutes attempted theft. The woman then looked at me, suddenly changing her tone completely. Woman. Please, tell them it was a misunderstanding. I wasn't really going to take your dog. I was just upset. Please, I can't have a felony charge. I'll lose my job. My son needs me. I looked at her, then at her son who was clearly embarrassed by his mother's behavior. I felt bad for the kid, but what she did was serious. Me? Officer, I definitely want to press charges. What she did put both me and my service dog at risk. Max is trained not to leave my side, but if he had been a different service dog with different training, she could have seriously endangered me. The officer nodded and continued processing her arrest. Another officer approached to talk to me privately. Officer, just so you know, since this involves a service animal, the penalties are much more severe than regular theft. She's looking at a possible felony conviction, fines of several $1,000s, and potentially jail time. Child Protective Services will also be notified. I nodded, watching as they escorted her to the police car. Her son was being looked after by another officer, who explained they were contacting his father to come get him. As I walked away with Max safely by my side, I heard the woman wailing from the police car, finally realizing the severity of what she'd done. I felt a pang of sympathy for her son, but none for her. Some lessons are learned the hard way. The next day, I got a call from the police station. The woman was being charged with attempted theft of a service animal, harassment of a disabled person, and endangering the welfare of a disabled person. Her lawyer was already trying to plea it down, but the prosecutor was holding firm because of the service animal laws in our state. 2 weeks later, I saw in the local paper that she pled guilty to a reduced charge, but still got 100 hours of community service, a $2,000 fine, and 2 years of probation. She also had to take a class about service animal laws and disability rights. The final twist? Part of her community service hours had to be completed at the local VA hospital. I can only hope she learned something about respect and the importance of service animals for veterans like me. Story 2. I've been working at Eternal Elegance Bridal Boutique for almost 5 years now. It's a small, upscale shop in a nice part of town, and I worked my way up from weekend sales associate to assistant manager. I love my job most days. Helping brides find their perfect dress for their special day is genuinely rewarding, and the commission isn't bad either. But let me tell you about the day that nearly made me quit on the spot. I came from a working-class family where money was always tight. My mom raised 3 kids on her own after Dad left when I was 8. When I was 16, I got a job at a local department store to help out with bills and fell in love with retail fashion. I worked through community college, got my associate's degree in business, and landed this gig at Eternal Elegance. The owner, a retired wedding planner with an eye for detail, took me under her wing. She taught me everything about wedding dresses, fabrics, silhouettes, how to properly fit a bride. Our boutique has a stellar reputation, partly because we're super selective about our inventory, and partly because we treat every bride like royalty. We also have a very clear return policy, printed on every receipt and posted by the register. All sales final on custom orders and altered items. Returns on unworn, unaltered items with tags attached within 14 days of purchase with receipt. Which brings me to last Tuesday. I was helping a nervous bride-to-be try on veils when I heard the chime of our front door, followed immediately by the sound of someone clearing their throat repeatedly and loudly. I glanced over to see a woman in her mid-30s, designer sunglasses perched on her head, tapping her foot impatiently. Me, I'll be right with you, ma'am. Woman, I don't have all day. I apologized to my current customer and asked her if she'd be okay for a minute. She nodded, and I walked over to the counter. Me, how can I help you today? She slammed a garment bag onto the counter so hard that our little display of hair accessories wobbled. Woman, I need a refund. Full refund. Cash. I took a deep breath and unzipped the garment bag. Inside was one of our most expensive dresses, a marchesa with hand-embroidered flowers and beading that retailed for just over $8,000. Except now it had a massive red wine stain splashed across the front, and the hem was torn and dirty. Me, I'm sorry, but I don't think we can process a return on this. It's been worn and damaged. Woman, of course you can process it. It's defective. Me, defective. In what way? Woman, it brought me bad luck. I blinked, sure I had misheard her. Me, I'm sorry? Woman, this dress is cursed. My husband cheated on me at our own wedding reception. With my maid of honor, I caught them in the coat closet. I stood there speechless for a moment. While I felt terrible about her situation, it had absolutely nothing to do with the dress. Me, ma'am, I'm very sorry about what happened, but our return policy is clear. We can't accept returns on worn items, especially damaged ones. Woman, do you have any idea who I am? My father plays golf with the mayor. I spend more on handbags each month than you make in a year. She leaned over the counter, getting uncomfortably close to my face. Woman, I want my $8,350 back. Now? In cash. Me? I understand you're upset, but that's simply not possible. The dress has been worn and stained. We couldn't possibly resell it. Woman, that's not my problem. Your dress ruined my marriage before it even started. At this point, my bride in the fitting room peeked her head out, clearly uncomfortable. I gave her a reassuring smile and turned back to the irate woman. Me, again, I'm truly sorry about your situation, but the dress didn't cause your husband to cheat. We cannot issue a refund. Woman, you haven't heard the last of this. I'll have this whole place shut down by the weekend. She stormed out, leaving the damaged dress on our counter. I apologized to my customer and tried to get back to work, assuming the situation was over. I was wrong. About 40 minutes later, In the middle of ringing up a mother-daughter duo purchasing a dress for a winter wedding, we heard a horn blaring continuously from outside. I excused myself and went to the front window. The same woman had parked her massive white SUV directly in front of our entrance, blocking both our door and part of the sidewalk. She was sitting in the driver's seat, one hand pressed firmly on the horn, staring directly at our boutique. I went outside to confront her. You need to move your vehicle immediately. You're blocking our entrance and disturbing the entire street. Woman, not until I get my refund. This isn't helping your case. Please move your car before I have to call the police. Woman, go ahead and call them. My cousin is a police officer. They'll take my side. She rolled up her window and continued honking intermittently. I went back inside and apologized to my customers. The mother and daughter decided to complete their purchase despite the disturbance. After they left, having to squeeze past the SUV, I called the non-emergency police line. They assured me someone would come by shortly. Meanwhile, the woman had started yelling through a megaphone, where did she even get that? About how our boutique sells cursed dresses and ruins marriages. About 20 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. I went outside with the damaged dress in the garment bag as evidence. Officer 1, what seems to be the problem here? Before I could speak, the woman launched into her tirade. Woman, this store sold me a defective wedding dress. It cost over $8,000 and it ruined my wedding. My husband cheated because of this dress. Officer 2, ma'am, how exactly did the dress cause your husband to cheat? Woman, it's bad luck. It's cursed, and they won't give me my money back. I explained our return policy to the officers and showed them the condition of the dress. Officer 1, ma'am, this is a civil matter, not a criminal one. You can't block a business entrance because you're unhappy with their return policy. Woman, do you know who my father is? One call from him, and you'll both be directing traffic in the worst part of town. The officers exchanged glances. Officer 2, ma'am, I need to see your license and registration, and you need to move your vehicle immediately. Woman, I'm not moving until I get my refund. Officer 1, then we'll have to issue you a citation for illegal parking and call a tow truck. Woman, you wouldn't dare. They would, in fact, dare. The woman refused to move her SUV or provide her license. The officers called for a tow truck, which arrived about 15 minutes later. The entire time, she remained in her vehicle, alternating between honking her horn and screaming at us through her megaphone. As the tow truck began to hook up her SUV, she finally got out. Woman, fine, I'll move it. Just give me a minute. Officer 2, too late for that, ma'am. Please step back. Woman, this is ridiculous. I'll sue all of you. The best part? In her rage and hurry to confront the officers, she left her keys in the ignition and the damaged wedding dress in the back seat of her SUV. The officers informed her that she could retrieve her vehicle and the dress from the city impound lot after paying the necessary fees. As the tow truck pulled away with her SUV, she stood in our parking lot, face red with fury. Woman, this isn't over. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. She stormed off, presumably to call someone to pick her up. The officers took my statement and information for their report before leaving as well. That evening, the boutique owner called me after I told her what happened. Owner, you handled that perfectly. If she calls or comes back, direct her straight to me. The woman never returned to our boutique, but about a week later, we received a scathing 1-star review online claiming our dresses were cheaply made and cursed with bad luck. The owner responded simply with, "We stand by the quality of our dresses. They cannot, however, prevent infidelity." Sometimes I wonder what happened to that wine-stained marchesa. Did she ever claim it from impound? Did she try to return it elsewhere? Or is it still sitting in an impound lot, a $8,000 reminder that no dress, no matter how beautiful, can fix a relationship doomed from the start? Story 3. I've been a flight attendant for almost 8 years now. You think you've seen it all until you haven't. This happened last month on a cross-country flight from New York to Los Angeles, and honestly, I'm still processing it. I was working first class that day, which is usually easier than economy. Less people, more space, and typically more experienced travelers who know the drill. But there's always that one passenger who makes you question your career choices. Our flight was completely full. Every seat in first class was occupied, which isn't unusual for this route. Most passengers had already settled in, enjoying their pre-flight drinks when she boarded. I'll just call her the passenger. She was dressed in designer clothes from head to toe, huge sunglasses despite being inside the airplane, and had this energy about her that immediately put me on edge. The moment she sat down in seat 2A, I could tell something was off. She kept looking around, shifting in her seat, and making faces. I approached her with a welcoming smile. "Me, good morning. Would you like something to drink before takeoff?" "Passenger, this seat has terrible energy. I can feel it. I need to switch." "Me, I'm sorry, but we're fully booked today. Every seat in first class is assigned." "Passenger, no, you don't understand. I'm very sensitive to energies. That seat over there has better vibes." She was pointing to seat 1D, which was occupied by an older gentleman who was quietly reading a book. "Me, I apologize, but that seat is already taken. Perhaps I can get you an extra pillow to make you more comfortable." "Passenger, do you know who I am? I paid full price for first class. I shouldn't have to sit in a seat with bad energy." I explained again that we couldn't move passengers around when the flight was full, especially since everyone in first class had paid for their specific seats. She huffed dramatically and waved me away. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. About 2 minutes after I walked away, the call button rang. I returned to find her glaring at me. "Passenger, the Wi-Fi isn't working yet." "Me, we're still at the gate. Wi-Fi will be available once we reach cruising altitude." "Passenger, well, nobody told me that." Actually, it's in the in-flight information card in her seat pocket, but I just smiled and nodded. 2 minutes later, the call button again. "Passenger, my seat doesn't recline far enough." "Me, the seats are locked in the upright position for takeoff. Once we're in the air." "Passenger, this is ridiculous. I want to speak to the captain." "Me, the captain is preparing for takeoff, but I'd be happy to address any concerns you have." She rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath. We managed to take off without further incident, but once the seatbelt sign went off, she was out of her seat immediately and marching towards seat 1D. "Passenger, to the man in 1D, excuse me, I need to switch seats with you. This is very important to my well-being." The man looked up from his book, clearly confused. "Man in 1D, I'm sorry, what?" "Passenger, your seat has better energy. I'm highly sensitive to these things, and I need that specific seat for my health." The man looked at me for help. I stepped in quickly. "Me, ma'am, please return to your assigned seat. We can't have passengers switching seats without authorization." "Passenger, this is a medical necessity. I have anxiety, and that seat would help me." My colleague, the other flight attendant working first class that day, came over to see what the commotion was about. My colleague, "Is everything all right here?" "Passenger, no. Your staff is refusing reasonable accommodation for my medical condition." My colleague, "What medical condition would that be?" "Passenger, I have energy sensitivity. That seat pointing to 1D again has healing properties that this one doesn't." The man in 1D was now visibly uncomfortable. Several other passengers were watching the scene unfold. My colleague, "Ma'am, please return to your seat. If you have a medical condition that requires special accommodation, you should have notified the airline before booking." Passenger, "I don't need to explain myself to you people. Get me your supervisor." Me, "We're currently 36,000 feet in the air. I'm the lead flight attendant on this section. Now please, return to your seat or we'll have to take further action." She stomped back to her seat, dramatically throwing herself down. I thought maybe she'd finally calm down. Nope. For the next hour, she pressed the call button approximately every 2 minutes. The water wasn't cold enough. The blanket was too scratchy. Could she get a different type of snack? Why was the air so dry? Could we turn down the lights in her section only? She needed a specific brand of sparkling water we didn't carry. Each time, I responded professionally, though my patience was wearing thinner by the minute. My colleagues in economy even noticed what was happening and gave me sympathetic looks when they passed by. Then came the meal service. We had 2 options, chicken or pasta. When I got to her, she asked what the options were. Me, today we have a lemon herb chicken with roasted vegetables or pen pasta with sun-dried tomato sauce. Passenger, I'll have the steak. Me, I'm sorry, we don't have steak on today's menu. Would you prefer the chicken or pasta? Passenger, this is first class. I expect steak. Check again. Me, ma'am, our menu for today only has chicken or pasta. I can show you the catering list if you'd like. Passenger, fine. I'll have the chicken. But make sure it's not overcooked. The chicken was pre-prepared, so there wasn't much I could do about its cooking level, but I nodded and served her the meal. 2 minutes later, the call button again. Passenger, this chicken is dry. I want something else. Me, I can offer you the pasta instead. Passenger, no, I want something fresh. Can't you make me something from scratch? Me, I'm sorry, we don't have cooking facilities on board. We only have what's been catered for the flight. She pushed the tray away dramatically. Passenger, I can't eat this. It will upset my stomach. I have very specific dietary needs. Me, did you request a special meal when booking your ticket? Passenger, I shouldn't have to. You should cater to all possible preferences automatically. By this point, we were about halfway through our flight. I was beyond exhausted dealing with her, and I could tell other passengers were getting annoyed by the constant disruptions. Then she escalated things to a whole new level. The call button rang again. When I approached, she was clutching her chest dramatically. Passenger, gasping, I need help. I think I'm having a heart attack. I immediately went into emergency mode. Medical emergencies are no joke, and we're trained to take them seriously regardless of the passenger's previous behavior. Me, are you experiencing chest pain? Passenger, yes, wincing theatrically, it's terrible. You need to land the plane now. I quickly grabbed the emergency medical kit and called for any medical professionals on board. As luck would have it, there was a doctor in economy who came forward. The doctor did a quick assessment while I notified the captain about the potential medical emergency. Doctor, quietly to me, her vitals seem completely normal. No signs of distress beyond what she's performing. Me, are you certain? Doctor, as certain as I can be without proper equipment. I think she's faking it. But we couldn't take chances. The captain announced we'd be making an emergency landing at the nearest suitable airport, which was about 45 minutes away. The moment this announcement was made, the passenger seemed to perk up a bit. She stopped clutching her chest as dramatically and even took a sip of water. The doctor noticed this too and raised an eyebrow at me. Doctor, whispering, she seems remarkably improved just knowing we're landing. I nodded but kept my face neutral. We still had to treat this as a genuine emergency, even if we had our doubts. When we landed at the diversion airport, emergency medical personnel boarded first. As is protocol, they quickly assessed the passenger. Ma'am, your vitals are completely normal. Are you still experiencing chest pain? Passenger, well, it's more of a energy imbalance. I think it was that terrible seat causing my symptoms. The looked confused. So you're not having a medical emergency. Passenger, the emergency is the incompetent service on this flight. I needed a seat with better vibes for my health. At this point, the captain had come out of the cockpit and was standing nearby. I've never seen him look so angry. Captain, did you fake a medical emergency to force this plane to land? Passenger, I didn't fake anything. I was in distress because no one would accommodate my needs. What she didn't realize was that alongside the medical personnel, Transportation Security Administration officers had also boarded. Faking a medical emergency to force a plane to land is a federal offense. Saw officer, "Ma'am, we need you to gather your belongings and come with us." Passenger, "What? Why? I'm a paying customer." Saw officer, falsely reporting a medical emergency on an aircraft is a serious offense. We need to ask you some questions. Her face went pale as she realized the gravity of the situation. Passenger, "This is ridiculous. I'll sue the airline. I'll sue all of you." As the TSA officers escorted her off the plane, the captain addressed the remaining passengers. "Captain, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the unexpected stop. We'll be refueling and back on our way to Los Angeles shortly. Thank you for your patience." We later learned that not only was the passenger fined heavily, but she was also added to the no-fly list. Apparently, this wasn't her first incident on a flight, just the most severe. The rest of our journey to Los Angeles was blissfully uneventful. Several passengers even thanked us for handling the situation professionally. The man from seat 1D caught my eye as he was disembarking. "Man in 1D, I don't know about better vibes, but my seat definitely has better vibes now that she's gone." I couldn't help but laugh. After 8 years of flying, this was definitely going into my collection of "you won't believe what happened" stories. And to this day, whenever a passenger complains about their seat, my colleagues and I share a knowing look and whisper, "Better vibes." Story 4. Let me back up a bit. I moved to Oakwood Estates about 3 years ago after getting a promotion at the hospital where I work as a respiratory therapist. After years of apartment living, I was excited to finally have my own space, particularly a backyard where I could grow vegetables. My grandmother had taught me how to garden when I was young, and throughout my life, tending to plants has been my way of relieving stress after long shifts helping people breathe. The first 2 years were peaceful. I kept my lawn tidy, my house well-maintained, and gradually expanded my vegetable garden in the backyard. It wasn't even visible from the street. You'd have to actually walk into my backyard to see it. I grew tomatoes, bell peppers, zucchini, cucumbers, and a variety of herbs. During summer, I'd often share my harvest with neighbors, who seemed to appreciate the fresh produce. Everything changed when the Homeowners Association elected a new board 6 months ago. The new president was a woman who moved in about a year ago and immediately started nitpicking about everyone's properties. You know the type, the kind who measures your grass with a ruler and sends violation notices if it's half an inch too tall. My first encounter with her happened when I was planting my spring garden. She was walking her small, yappy dog past my house and noticed me working in the backyard. "Hoa President, excuse me, what exactly are you doing back there?" "Me, just planting my vegetable garden. I do it every spring." She walked onto my property without asking and peered at my garden beds with a look of disgust. "Hoa President, I don't recall seeing anything in the association bylaws about vegetable gardens. This looks rather rustic, not very in keeping with our neighborhood aesthetic." "Me? It's just a small garden in my backyard. It's not even visible from the street." "Hoa President, well, I'll have to check the regulations. We need to maintain property values, you know." I didn't think much of it until a week later when I received an official notice from the Homeowners Association citing my vegetable garden as a non-conforming landscape installation that needed to be removed within 30 days. I was furious. I immediately called the number on the notice. "Me, hi. I received this notice about my vegetable garden being non-conforming. I've reviewed the bylaws thoroughly, and there's nothing prohibiting vegetable gardens." Hoa President, well, Section 8.3 states that all landscape elements must maintain the aesthetic standards of the community. Me, and how exactly does a vegetable garden violate aesthetic standards? Hoa President, your garden beds and those metal cages for your tomato plants are unsightly. And frankly, this whole grow-your-own-food movement is politically charged. We don't need that kind of statement in our community. Me, politically charged? It's food. People have been growing vegetables for thousands of years. Hoa President, don't take that tone with me. The board has made its decision. Remove it or face fines. I hung up, completely baffled. How could growing vegetables be political? And more importantly, how could it be prohibited when there was nothing specific in the bylaws? I decided to fight back. I sent a formal letter to the entire board requesting the specific bylaw provision that prohibited vegetable gardens. I also started talking to my neighbors, many of whom were equally confused by the new board's aggressive enforcement tactics. One of my neighbors across the street, an older gentleman who had lived in the neighborhood since it was built, suggested I install a security camera. Neighbor, that woman has been causing trouble for everyone. Last month, she came onto my property and cut down my bird feeder while I was at my daughter's house. Claimed it was attracting vermin. I wish I had proof. His story made me nervous. I immediately ordered a Ring doorbell camera and additional security cameras for my backyard. I had them installed the next day. Just in time to. 3 nights later, around 1 a.m., my phone alerted me to motion in my backyard. I groggily checked the camera feed and was shocked to see the Homeowners Association president sneaking around my vegetable garden with what looked like a large container. As I watched in disbelief, she began pouring liquid over my garden beds. I immediately called the police and ran outside. "Me, what are you doing in my yard?" She jumped, nearly dropping the container. "Hoa President, I'm addressing a community concern. These plants are non-conforming." "Me, by trespassing at night and pouring something on my property? The police are on their way." "Hoa President, don't be dramatic. I'm just helping you comply with regulations." I got close enough to smell the unmistakable scent of bleach. This woman was pouring bleach into my garden. "Me, that's bleach. You're destroying my garden." "Hoa President, you had your chance to remove it voluntarily." At that moment, we heard the police sirens approaching. Her smug expression faltered, and she tried to leave, but I blocked her path. "Me, oh no, you're staying right here to explain to the police why you're trespassing and vandalizing my property." The police arrived quickly. They were initially confused about the situation until I showed them the security footage on my phone. Her face went pale when she realized everything had been recorded. "Police officer, ma'am, you're trespassing on private property and willfully destroying personal property. The homeowner has video evidence." "Hoa President, I'm the Homeowners Association president. I have authority to enforce community standards." "Police officer, Homeowners Association authority doesn't include trespassing or property destruction. You could be facing serious charges here." They took statements from both of us and collected the bleach container as evidence. The officer explained that I could press charges for criminal trespassing and property damage, which I absolutely intended to do. The next day, I was still heartbroken over my garden. 3 years of carefully tended soil, now soaked with bleach. My tomato plants were already wilting, and I knew the soil would need to be completely replaced. The financial damage was one thing, but the emotional impact of having someone deliberately destroy something I cared about was devastating. I decided the neighborhood needed to know what kind of person was leading our homeowners association. I uploaded the security footage to our neighborhood Facebook group with a simple caption. "Our Hoa President poured bleach on my vegetable garden last night." This was caught on my security camera. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Neighbors I'd never even spoken to messaged me with their own stories of harassment from the Hoa President. Several offered to help me rebuild my garden. One neighbor who was an attorney offered to help me file a civil lawsuit against both the president personally and the Hoa board for failing to supervise her actions. Within 48 hours, an emergency Hoa meeting was called. The room was packed with angry residents. The Hoa president tried to defend herself, claiming she was just enforcing the rules, but no one was buying it. "Hoa President, the bylaws clearly state that all landscape elements must conform to community standards. Neighbor 1, show us where it says you can trespass and pour bleach on someone's property." Neighbor 2, my daughter could have eaten vegetables from that garden. You poured bleach where food is grown. Neighbor 3. I motion for an immediate vote to remove the president from the board. The vote wasn't even close. She was removed from the board immediately, and a temporary president was appointed until proper elections could be held. The new acting president's first action was to personally apologize to me and make it clear that vegetable gardens were absolutely permitted in our community. The police ended up charging the former president with criminal trespassing, vandalism, and property damage. My civil lawsuit against her is ongoing, but my attorney says we have an extremely strong case given the video evidence. The best part? My garden is thriving again. Several neighbors helped me remove the contaminated soil and replace it with fresh, rich soil. Others donated seedlings to replace what was lost. Some even started their own vegetable gardens in solidarity. Last weekend, we had our first neighborhood garden exchange, where everyone who grows vegetables or fruits brought some to share. It's brought our community closer together than ever before. As for the former HOA president, she put her house up for sale last week. Apparently, having all your neighbors know you as the garden bleacher makes living in the community rather uncomfortable. I heard she's moving to a condo downtown. No HOA in her new building, ironically. But I bet her new neighbors will be installing security cameras, just in case.